everyone, thank you so much for joining me for a second journaling with me video. In this video, I've decided to work on some blank pages, and I've selected some ephemera that has some similar color tones. I tend to like to pick bits and pieces that are all in the same color family. And I really wanted to give an example of how I journal in the white pages or very blank pages in my journal. Because I think, especially if you're starting to journal or you don't have a personal journal at this moment, you can really create your journaling on any kind of journal. You don't need fancy papers to do so. You can kind of cover anything up with other bits and pieces. So here I'm assembling. I have a digital print, a piece of a dictionary, as well as a tea-stained paper. And I'm just assembling those onto the pages, and I will be gluing them down. Just trimming the excess so that I can still use the piece I won't need. I'm very big into not wasting any of my paper, so if I'm gonna be cutting out a piece of a paper, I like to make sure that I do it in the one corner so that I can still use the rest of the paper. So I'm using my glue stick here because I think that's plenty good, but I do apply a lot of glue, especially with the glue stick. Because if you don't, it will lift up and it's not going to be glued down very well. I do find that putting glue on both the paper and the page that I'm gluing it on does help for the glue to adhere better. So that's just a tip that perhaps could help you out if you're looking at using a glue stick. I know a lot of people think that they don't glue down enough, but it works fine for me. Now I'm just going to trim off the excess of that dictionary page. And I will glue the tea-stained paper. That paper is simply a lined paper. I have a few different types of lined paper that I've accumulated over my past 20 years of school. And I have a certain kind that the lines almost fully disappear when I stain them, and I kind of like that a lot because I like the texture of the paper, and most often the blue lines become very, very faint, but the one pink line remains. I really like that. I added a tiny piece of washi tape so that it would poke through the whole of the lined paper. Because there's a small gap between the two papers, I am gonna add a piece of washi on this side of the page, and I'm using this kind of yellow colored one for the bottom part, and of course my pages are not the same height, so I will be using a smaller piece of the red washi tape to put at the top. Now I'm ready to move on to using some of the ephemera that I've assembled for this page. I am going to grab the bigger pieces first and kind of work my way down to the smaller bits. I really like the colors of that doily and that vintage card. I thought they went really well with the wallpaper sample there. And I really liked that wallpaper sample. It says Magasin du Coin, which means the corner stores. And I don't know, that just brings up many memories for me as a child, and getting a few cents to go purchase some candy. So I really enjoyed including that in my spread. So now I'm just going to be folding the doily so that it's visible on both sides of the page, and I will be gluing that down. I'm grabbing a few flower stickers and some labels, but I will decide on placing my labels first. And I really like the contrast between that green one and that yellow one. I'm just playing around trying to see if those are the ones that I want to use. I became a little bit indecisive in this spread, and I don't know what it was, but my elements were fitting well together, but I felt like I was missing something. And sometimes I feel that way, and then I do my writing and then I revisit whether I think something is missing or not, because adding your writing really does take up a lot of space, and it also, I find, brings the pages together. So this ended up being just fine. I'm going down the green one first, and I will move on to the yellow one, which is a sticker. And first I am trimming a little bit of that printable ticket. I love the color of that little ticket. It's pretty cute. I'm just gonna staple the yellow ticket onto the page, just because it's a thicker cardstock and I don't want to worry about it coming loose. To get rid of the white edges from cutting the paper, I'm just inking quickly the edges so that everything blends in together a little bit more. Now I want to place that green card. I really like the way that it looks by the doily. There's just a little bit of green on that doily, so I thought it kind of brought out that green. And I want to be able to access under the card, so I am just using some washi to be able to secure that on there. In an instance like this spread, I didn't have something in particular that I wanted to be journaling about. So rather than pick ephemera that went with a subject that I wanted to journal about, I ended up letting the ephemera inspire me to journal about something. Later on in this spread, I pick an illustration, and that's what I'll be basing my journaling about. And I thought that was just a different way to approach your journaling. If sometimes you want to journal but aren't really sure what to journal about, I find that my ephemera inspires me just as much as my everyday life does. I want to add a piece of fabric to add a little bit more texture to my page, so I decided to grab a piece of this fabric that I've stained with some tea dye, and I'm trying to figure out where to place it, but I do trim it down. There's just too big of a piece that doesn't have anything onto it, and it was too big for the spread. So I use this smaller piece and navigate the pages trying to figure out where it'll fit in nicely. I settle for that corner and I staple it onto the page. I'm still trying to think of where I could place some of these stickers, but they just didn't quite, they weren't big enough or didn't really suit what I was trying to create, so I only ended up using one of them a little bit later on. But I spent a lot of time trying to find a spot for them. And you know, sometimes no matter how hard you're trying to include an element in your spread, there comes a moment that you just gotta let go. It's hard to when you are set on using something, but it just doesn't always work out. I didn't choose to put anything there. I thought it was a little too heavy, bottom heavy, as well as I have things in that bottom corner on the other side of this page too. So I ended up leaving it empty. This is the illustration that I was mentioning earlier. On the illustration, you can see a man. I think he's teaching the woman how to play golf. And although this illustration, it means nothing to me. I've never learned to play golf, but it made me think of learning something new. And then I decided that that would be what I would be journaling about, to be learning something new, and how I like to approach that, and how it terrifies me at times, and it can really be challenging to decide to learn something new because of the fear of failing at it, right? And I thought that was a really good thing to be journaling about, and I wouldn't have thought about journaling about that otherwise. So this was my great way of channeling some new ideas on what to journal about, especially in days like around this time with COVID. We're really not doing a ton, so there's not a whole lot of new things happening. And although there's no new things happening, you can still journal about memories and about your outlook on various things in your life, about your ideas and your dreams and your goals. There's always something else to journal about. You just need to find a little bit more inspiration to do so. I decide to stick those flowers just on that picture there, and then I will be doing my journaling off camera. And that's it for the spread, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.